Warning: the radio broadcast you're about to hear was made by men and for men. It may at times seem a little rough around the edges, brash, and certainly not canonically approved by papal authority. But its content may indeed challenge you to become the man, father, husband God has called you to be. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to The Obligation, where we discuss topics in faith and in life to help you become the man God called you to be. Let's get started.
Welcome to another exciting week of The Obligation. My name is Jason Murphy, joined as always with my co-host, friend, and author, John Eades. Had to slide that in there. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm doing good, man. I'm moving a little bit slow, but I'm waiting for my coffee to kick in. I haven't got to my second cup, so maybe it'll get there and push me into the next gear. Before we got going today, I just wanted to make mention, some of our listeners may not know, and obviously you spoke to the men at the men's conference last year, which was amazing. We super enjoyed listening to you and talk on leadership and how that relates with being a man and father and a husband. And you had a couple of books. I think you had one there at the conference, and Building the Best, great read. Haven't got through the whole thing. I'm trying to work my way. And then you've also got, I guess, one a few years older, FML, Standing Out and Being a Leader. So FML, Follow My Lead, right?
That's
so
it.
I just wanted to get kind of, from your perspective in business, life coaching, leadership on the corporate level, the business level, how does that relate now, with, getting involved with the obligation, the men's conference, and hear a little bit more about that journey.
Well, I appreciate that. I would just start with when it comes to leadership, why it's so important and how it can happen anywhere. I mean, most people when they think of a leader, they have this thing in their mind of the greatest leader they've ever known or studied, or Abe Lincoln or Mother Teresa or some, mystical figure that could never be them. And it couldn't be more wrong, because the most important element of leadership, Jason, is not talent. It's a choice that we all make to lead right from where we are. And just last night, I was sitting at dinner with my family, and we went to a sushi restaurant, and it was a pretty nice sushi restaurant. We just had this, we sat down, and I mean, if I told you every single meal we've ever eaten together, whether we're in public or whether we're at home, we open it with a prayer. Like, even if we just do it in a really small setting, we just kind of quietly do it in person. And I don't know for what reason, Jason, last night we didn't do it. And I don't know. It was just, I'm still shocked we didn't do it. And I only tell you that because the waitress comes over, she's bringing our check. We got the family through this whole nice dinner, and I get the check and I open, and I'm getting ready, I'm getting a card out, and there's a gentleman sitting right next to us who's by himself. And he's on the phone, and he, tables are pretty close together, and he gets my attention, and he asks for the check. And I was like, I'm not sure what you mean. And he's like, no, give me the check. And so I hand him my little folder, and he looks at me and my family, and he says, I love seeing great young Christian families out to eat and being together, and I'm going to pay for your dinner tonight.
That's awesome.
And Jason, not only did I not expect it, but it was the one meal that we didn't pray publicly before dinner.
Wow.
And my wife looked at me and she said, how did he know we're Catholic or Christian?
Yeah.
And I said, the only way I can think is that the way we acted at dinner together versus us publicly displaying prayer like we typically do.
Yeah.
And I had my kids get up and walk over and say thank you, and I'm in that moment, I made sure they knew what this man did. And the waitress was confused, but it was one of these moments as a leader myself that it displayed to me that you can lead right from where you are at any moment, and it didn't take any talent for that man to demonstrate leadership in that moment for my family, to teach a lesson to my kids. And it just was this really powerful story that happened last night. And I only say that because, one, I hope everybody listening thinks about, can they pass that forward to somebody else? It doesn't have to be buying a really nice $100 meal for a family, but what could you do that would be unexpected for someone else that would demonstrate leadership, or in some cases demonstrate your faith in Christ?
I love that story because it reminds me of a similar situation that happened with my family. And of course, things are a little bit more calm now as we've, added a few here and there. We're getting a little better, learning the wrangling of kids and whatnot. But I think even this is going back maybe 4 years. So we might not have had two of the children. So we might have only had four at the time, which is still a lot at today's standards. But we were at a restaurant and we get a lot of compliments. We'll get a lot of compliments from the kids. Oh, you have such well-behaved kids, or it's good seeing your family. And that same thing happened. A couple, without us knowing, we were ready to leave. And so we asked the waitress and she said, "Oh no, it's been taken care of." And I'm like, "Really? Wow." And she said, "Yeah, there's a couple that comes in." And I don't know the whole story, but it seemed like maybe they don't have kids and they enjoy seeing families with kids and kind of paying it forward, in that respect. And that moved us, because then we're like, well, we need to consider that too. And we did that at another time down the road, but it is good. And we are, like back to what you said, just wondering how that even made an impression on, and you didn't pray, but it reminded me of St. Francis of Assisi and talking to his brothers, and about preaching and going out. And he said, preach always, and when necessary, use words. So I think there is something to that. And it's certainly a good reminder of prayer, but also that, hey, this prayer, that we do on a regular basis forms us, and it's formed you and your family so that you do stand out. And as Christians, we do stand out when we are practicing prayer and the morals and the virtues and the ethics that come along with our faith. And so I think that's it's a wonderful reminder. I know for me, my family's, it's interesting because I am very good. Most of the time, 99.99% time, we will say prayers before the main meal. Now, I'm bad. If I go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm diving into the chips. But my little Anna, the other day, before she tore into the chips, because I took a few of them to Mexican restaurant on Sunday after church, she just so politely and great posture started the sign of the cross for she. And I had already torn into my chips, and I was like, "Hey, we're gonna go ahead and pray now." And so that but it's when you see those efforts and everything, sometimes we don't think they're received by our kids, but when you set that example on a regular basis, it forms them just like it forms us. And so I'm glad you shared that, because that's a great story for sure.
Well, and what I loved about it most wasn't this guy just a serving move, because clearly he'd made a lot of money in his life. Okay, he made the connection to faith, and I think it's an important lesson here, because there was and will never be a better leader, an example for any of us other than Jesus Christ. Right. And so when you think about leadership and leading right from where you are, no matter what stage of life you are, there's opportunities every single day if we choose to lead.
Absolutely.
If we choose to lead, and you talked about building the best, and we define the term leadership this way: someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve in order to elevate others. So when you think about what this gentleman did for my family last night, he inspired us by the word inspire comes from a Latin word, which means to breathe life into. He breathed life into my family last night, and we've had a tough couple weeks. And that little act kind of breathed life. It reminded me, and it reminded my wife about how important our core four is, and our family that we have been gifted with God, and the time we spend together. So he breathed life into us. And the word empower means to help others make decisions, or to give ownership over something. And in some ways, he empowered me to go do that for somebody else, just like you did later on. And when the time was right in your journey at a restaurant or whatever it may be. And then the last word is to serve, which literally means to put others' needs ahead of your own, to flip that hierarchical pyramid upside down, and to not look for your team or other people to serve you, but to do it the other way around and to serve them. And when you inspire and you empower and you serve, you elevate others, and that is the key to successful leadership today, Jason. So when you talk about leadership and building the best or whatever, and if we have more people not worried about their talent but choosing leadership right where they are, in their families, in their churches, in their workplaces, with their spouses, whatever it may be, not only is their world going to get better, the people that they're around, they'll be elevating them. And that's the core of it. And unfortunately, we have too many people today, Jason, in positions of leadership, but not choosing leadership.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
I mean, look no further than our politics.
Yeah. It's a real mess, and it's been on my mind a lot. We're in some very troubling times. As we don't want to be henny penny running around, thinking the world's coming to an end. But we are. If you look at what's going on around us, there are a lot of troubling things going on in society. There's things going on in our church, and unfortunately, if we're not careful, there's going to be things going on in our families. And I was thinking about, the political realm. The other day, it was just on my mind. I'm like, we're the conservative, the quieter, side of politics, because by nature, the conservatives aren't going to be as loud. They're not going to make as much noise, to a point where, and I think we're at that point where we are going to have to stand up. So I saw an article online the other day. It was interviewing Tariq Bakari, and I believe that's the correct pronunciation. He is on city council, and he's one of the last vestiges of conservatism and a Republican on city council here in Charlotte. And in the article, basically, I think he may be Pakistani, and some of the stances he's taken on homelessness or on maybe some of the Black Lives Matter political pieces. He's been accused of being a racist. And so that's a real easy term to throw around these days, especially, even not just towards white people any longer, but it's people of different shades and colors, browns, blacks, whatever. And the big piece that stood out to me was that out of 100 major cities in the United States, there's only representation from about 26% Republican, and it's dying quickly. And so Tariq is pretty much on his way out of city council, is what it's looking like. And, reading that, and I'm aware of that. I mean, you can look around at society, and you look around who's leading the country, and you look around the politics that are being thrown at us. But he summed it up at the end, and he was upset. There was a lot of big, contentious words, and so he's kind of done. And he said, you know what? We just need to burn the ships. He said, I'm not going back. And I read that, and I didn't like that. It didn't sit well with me, because I'm thinking, no, we do not need to burn the ships. We need to re-up the ships. We need to stand the ships back up and get these ships sailing right. And how do you do that? And you can only do that beginning in your family. So then I started thinking about the small political, realm of my family. If I can't lead, starting with the most basic elementary piece of society, which is the family, how can anyone presume to lead society or any other person's family? So we as Catholics, good Catholic men, leaders, fathers, husbands, number one, we need to be leading our families. And number two, it is time, and I don't know who it's going to be. Please God, it's not me. Maybe it's you, John. I'll be your political advisor. And, or maybe it's somebody listening, but we have to get up, because if we don't get up and do something about what's going on around us, we are in trouble, and it's crumbling fast. And I was talking to my mom about it the other day, and just saying, I'm not afraid to get out in the public site, and I'm not afraid to maybe try and, make a difference. And who knows what it'll be. It may just be this little podcast, this little radio show, and that's great. Maybe it's just good for me and you to sit here and have it out and talk about these things. But if it were to go to the next level, I'm not afraid of anything to be brought up in my past. I acknowledge that. I'll admit to or answer any accusation. I'm the man today because of every single step and every single mistake that I've made, and every single achievement I've made to this point. So I wouldn't take away any of it. I don't. There are things I certainly did that I'm not proud of, but I wouldn't change any of my history. So that's number one. Number two, when you get into that realm, your family and, all your skeletons and all that stuff comes out, and that's fine. But that's a big part. But the third part I thought was probably the most tough would be the time away from your family. If you're pulled away from your family. But my mom said something very interesting. She said, if no one takes that time now, then your kids won't even have an opportunity to experience what this country is really about. And I thought about that. I'm like, you're right. If we all just sit back and say, well, I don't have time for that, or I'm scared of that, we're going to, and if we go back into our conservative piece, whereas as that's just what we are. And I do believe that there's a silent majority. And at some point, this silent majority has to start making some noise, because the things that are happening around us they're troubling. They're not good for our kids to be brought up in and exposed to. But it does come down to leadership. So I just wanted to, kind of pop into that, talk about some leadership, talk about the politics, and then want to talk about some leadership, in politics of the church, which is going on today. But
yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt this is an interesting one. And the former governor who's now running for Senate in North Carolina, he said something to me in an interview I'll never forget. His name is Pat McCrory, and he said to me, John, he says, if not you, then who?
Yep.
And there's something really powerful about that statement, because there is a time and a place, I think, to get involved in politics. And yes, it is a dirty game, and it's a tough position to put your family in. And how much change can you make when you're, 1 or 2 against 12 or whatever it may be. And so that's why a lot of people choose not to do it. And look, for someone that's never thought about it, certainly you and I have at some point, which is great. That's not the only place you can lead. And right. Yeah, some people might be called to that kind of leadership. But again, I want to highlight that is a position, and positions are important because you can make change and you can influence people at a greater level than you can without the position, no doubt. But I just highlight this because I really believe it starts with leading right from where you are. And those opportunities for you to step into those positions of leadership will become available or at the right time. Sure. And so let's to get to the core of it, there are some great leaders that lean left, and there's some great leaders that lean right. And is there only one way to get something accomplished from a policy perspective? No, there is not. The key, though, is that we don't have people afraid when they see something wrong to step up and try to fix the problem and try to elevate others and do all those things that we just talked about from a leadership perspective. And I do think there's a time for everything. And maybe the time for you is now, Jason. I mean, maybe it is.
I'm not saying it's now, but I think it's something that as men, as fathers, as husbands in this world, looking at everything going on around us, we've got to do something. Looking at some of just these, just a few brief where I think some of this politics is going to cross over into our faith, and it is already. Well, let's go ahead and talk about real quick. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition cover is a transgender man. That is where we are. Okay, that's not a political situation. That is just where we are.
I'm just thanking God right now that I didn't know that before you told me.
I haven't seen it. I heard about it. I'm not going to go look at it. I'm not going to go buy it. But I thought somebody said a pretty funny thing about in regards to that kind of, basically go woke, go broke. So all these companies and sports organizations and everything that are, trying to appease to what they think is what everyone wants, which I don't believe that. I think it's a subversion of truth for sure, and subversion of what the American people actually believe, because we are quieter. We are the silent majority. I truly believe that. And we don't stand up against that. So we're letting the minority, run us into the ground. So we have that. And then we have Louisiana State Senate votes to override the veto of a bill that would bar biological males from girls' sports. So the governor, John Bell Edwards, voted into law, or, attempted to vote into law, a bill that would block biological males from competing against girls. Well, the Senate has now vetoed that. That's where we are. Now, we start moving now into the political, side where the church and political meet. And of course, we've heard about the most recent document on the Eucharist that the USCCB has put out. New Mexico State Senator was denied communion this weekend because of this document by a priest. And he said that his new parish priest has indicated he will do the same after the last was run off. So it sounds like these priests down in New Mexico are trying to do a little bit, trying to implement some of these things that the USCCB have implemented. But he says, please pray for church authorities as Catholicism transitions under Pope Francis. That's a scary term, to think that a pope is going to be transitioning the church, politics, beliefs from what it has been for 2,000 years. But I do believe, and I think you've got some things to say about that, that we're in a transition period where some of these political beliefs and things that we're maybe not on board with are really coming to fruition. So,
well, there are. I think we are in a transition as a church and in a very difficult spot. We talked about this previously, but I want to highlight before we get into some of those things too, that nobody's perfect. I mean, there was just this week, there was a Monsignor that resigned because of homosexual allegations. So this is not, this isn't just the far left that are making choices. There are people in the church and men in the church that have sinned and will sin and will make mistakes. And so I think that's really important to acknowledge going in, that the church isn't perfect. You and I aren't perfect. No one's perfect.
Right.
And so this isn't coming from a place of, acting like this side's got it all figured out and the other side doesn't, because that couldn't be further from the truth.
Correct.
Having said that, the church is in a precarious position with the things that you just highlighted, along with, what Pope Francis announced this week around the Latin Mass and in Europe. And there's no doubt there's even been talks of, some kind of split at some point, I think it even made the Wall Street Journal that the church is going down with this particular Pope and his actions. So yes, it's a tricky spot. And as someone that sits, certainly very conservative from a values perspective, I don't have the affinity for the Latin Mass that many very conservative churches do. And so it's in this particular issue, Jason, I'm not as conflicted with it because I don't particularly love the Latin Mass like others do. Right. I just don't understand why putting your foot in the sand on this particular issue towards the more conservative nature of the church, whereas we're opening the floodgates in some ways on homosexual or those kinds of things on the left side of the aisle. It doesn't seem to match up, and I think that's where we're headed to a big impasse at some point.
Yeah, I mean, this announcement that he was wanting to remove the Latin Mass really came without warning to any of the bishops. Kind of a shocker, because there are certainly several Latin Masses that take place in our Charlotte diocese. As a whole, I think it's around 4% of parishes in the United States have a regular Latin Mass. That's pretty substantial. That's a substantial number. I mean, if you're talking about a little over 70 million Catholics in the United States, if you were to divvy that up over the parishes, I don't know what that number is, but it's certainly at least a few million. And that's a large number of Catholics that are now, because it basically the pretty much was a request, or a statement that it should be stopped immediately. And if there was parishes that had them, they could continue having them until further clarification is made, but they couldn't do it on parish grounds, or in the actual parish church. I don't believe Bishop Jugas has come out publicly yet on that. I think that's coming out. There will be some, because there's going to have to be a statement there of, how that's going to work. But the Latin Mass has been one of the strongest and fastest growing followings in the church, especially the younger generation. It is what I credit to me being able to sustain my faith, because I could not find it in the local churches where I was brought up and in the watered down, liturgies that I experienced in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s until, I guess the late 90s when I found the Latin Mass, and it pretty much saved my faith, and I credit it very much to. Now, I don't participate with the Latin Mass on a regular basis any longer. I feel like, my path has, with my wife, who's a convert, and I tried to introduce her to that, and that's a big step for a Southern Baptist to the Latin Mass. So, I tried there, but, understanding the heart of the church and the spirit of the church, I'm able to maintain, sustain, and grow my faith, through our local, Novus Ordo, the new Rite Mass as of the Second Vatican Council, and I have no problem with that. But I do not believe that the Mass of all time, that was the Mass that the Catholic Church knew for the first almost 2,000 years, essentially, and that was codified by several popes to never be removed. I just can't see how we can now just take it and throw it. And that's what happened in the 1980s when eventually it was stated, after the Second Vatican Council, there was Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre who kind of severed parts there and said, no, you can't stop us from maintaining the Mass of all times. And so the Society of St. Pius X was formed, and in 1988, Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre was excommunicated, and they formed the Fraternity of St. Peter, which is still to this day a traditional order. So I don't know how that's going to affect an order. Now you have, that's a large, super large, growing. They just built a new seminary within the past 10 years down in, I think, Oklahoma. It's filled with seminarians studying the Latin Mass to go out and bring that to people. So there's a lot to sort through there. I don't know what the answer is on that, but I don't like it. It doesn't smell good to me. I'm not sure.
It doesn't smell good to me either. And I would further your point. Some of the most dedicated young seminarians that I've seen in St. Joseph's College Seminary. And again, even though it's not my thing, I do recognize the fervor and the people coming to faith because of it. And I think to then take your conservative side of the church and to see what it's doing in such parishes like St. Anne's and St. Patrick's and these more conservative parishes, at least locally, to think that we're going to kind of strike judgment towards that and then not the other thing. And we're going to kind of be laissez-faire towards, the left issues. It just doesn't sit well with me, even though I don't love the Latin Mass. So I think we're going to see a lot more on this in times to come, and
a lot to discuss.
There's no doubt we're going to break this down on a deeper level. But I think it's an important key takeaway today that, there are going to be things that you can and cannot change, but we want everyone out there looking to choose leadership. Don't rely on talent. Choose leadership right from where you are, in your families, in your churches, in your places of work. And we have more people that are focused on elevating others and upholding the standards that exist that we believe to be true based on our Savior Jesus. That's what we need. And so big topics today, Jason, no doubt. Why don't you close us up in prayer?
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord our God, thank you once again for this day, for our lives, for our families, this venue to come together and discuss the greater realities of your church and our lives. Help us to never have despair or turn away and lose hope, but know that in the end, you win, you conquer, and help us to follow your lead. We ask these things through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Hey guys, it's Jason Murphy. Just a reminder, we are still looking for volunteers from ministries throughout our diocese. Want to sit down with me for the Ministry Minute, tell a little bit about what you do, what your ministry is about. We'd love to hear from you. Please make sure to reach out and send us a message at feedback@carolinacatholicradio.com. We look forward to hearing back from you, and don't forget to keep supporting Catholic Radio Most importantly, by your prayers, and if you're able to make a donation, you can go online and support our summer pledge drive. God bless and Esto Vir.